Hello, my name is Eddie. I currently work to try to bridge the gap between civilians, communities, veterans, and such, um, reintegration, PTSD, suicide. Um, I've had a couple friends and family members commit suicide, and it's an important work. And there's a lot of people out there that say suicide is the refuge of the weak. You're cowardly if you do suicide. And it usually surprises them when I say that I was suicidal twice. I came very close twice. And it usually takes them aback. They're, what? You? You don't fit our stereotype notion of a suicidal person. Good. So I want to share one of my examples here, and I'll make another video of the second time. And so the first time that I was suicidal was back in the late 90s or so. And I had this, my entire worldview was built on a group of premises and conclusions that the world had a particular order. And if you know anything about a logical argument, a lot of times, really, one of the best ways to attack an argument is to find the weakest premise and take it out. And that had happened to me. One of the central components of one of my premises of my worldview was shattered, which took out my entire worldview on purpose of life, on everything happens for a reason, uh, all that. Um, I was shattered. I was lost. I had no direction, and I became suicidal. And life lost its meaning. Life lost its pleasure. Life there was no point in anything. Um, why keep going? Um, so I knew I wanted just to end the absurdity of it, as Camus says, just it's not worth the trouble anymore. It's just not worth the trouble, and that's where I was at. And so I made my mind up. I missed the ocean. I was stationed in Hawaii for a couple of years while I was in the Marine Corps, in Southern California as well, and I grew to love the ocean. And I was really too scared to contemplate the action of using a gun. I wanted something that was at least the act itself had some sort of meaning. Life didn't have meaning. My life didn't have meaning. The universe didn't have meaning. But at least in my action of suicide, I could have some sort of meaning. And that was what I was looking for. And I had a plan. My plan was to take a lot of sleeping pills, as much as I could take. And before succumbing to that darkness, I wanted to swim out into the ocean as far as I could go. And then combination of sleeping pills and fatigue uh, finished me off, and to return to the ocean. Um, that to me was a good plan. Good plan. And so while I was thinking about this and starting to put pieces together, and okay, where am I going to get sleeping pills, and which ocean should I do? At the time I was in Texas, should I just go to the Gulf of Mexico, or should I drive all the way to the Pacific Ocean, which is where I really wanted to go, but it's a long drive. Is it worth it? Um, I was leaning more and more towards the Gulf because it was closer. I lived in Houston, and I heard a radio advertisement for the Houston Symphony, and they were advertising Mozart's Requiem. And even though I was suicidal, even though there was no point in life and no meaning, I still had a bit of sense of humor that what better way to go out than having also just listened to a live performance of Mozart's Requiem, music for the dead. So, okay, that's what I will do. I will get tickets to Mozart's Requiem. I'll watch it, and then the next day, I'll go. And so I bought a ticket. But as is common for me, many times for classical music, I will buy two sets of tickets, and then I will just find somebody to give the other ticket to. I don't know why. I think it has to do with not enough people in this world currently appreciate the beauty in classical music, and I just wanted to share that with somebody, which is strange because I didn't believe there was any beauty in life. I didn't believe there was any point and purpose and goal or anything in life. It was absurd. And yet here I was buying an extra ticket. You see the absurdity of all of this, how it just doesn't match. Well, that's the thing about suicide. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't match. And so people who aren't trapped in this state don't understand. How could that person do this? How can you think this? Well, yeah, it's a failing of thinking clearly. It's not supposed to make sense. So I bought tickets and I asked people. I used to be a bartender. I would ask people, "Do you like classical music?" And they would say, "Yes, I love Mozart." And I would ask them, name one piece. And they just get glassy, like, I don't know. I'm like, "Oh, you don't like Mozart." So here I was contradicting my earlier contradiction. I wasn't going to take anybody who wasn't familiar with Mozart. You'd think that the best person to take would be somebody who didn't know Mozart. So yes, I am a walking, talking contradiction. I did find somebody who said, Eine kleine Nachtmusik. And I was like, there you go. Here's a ticket. No strings attached. I'll pick you up, take you to it was a date, but I wasn't looking for it to be a date at all. And went to the concert. And so I went to the concert with my date, poor lady, and wasn't the best date, wasn't very attentive to her and all this stuff. Whatever. We went and watched, and just like other concerts, you have the opening act and such. They had, the opening act. They played, I forgot who, whatever. They played some symphony from somebody somewhere, and listened to it. It was all fine and dandy. It was whatever. And then during the intermission, some people got on stage when the intermission was over, and I'm expecting Mozart's Requiem. And then, bam, I heard the first note and I knew what it was. There was a piece of music that they played that was not on the program. Ave Verum Corpus. Mozart. It wasn't on the program, and it's my favorite piece from Mozart. During the time that I was struggling, I would lay in my apartment at night, and I would just lay on the floor. All the lights were out. It'd be completely dark, and I would just play this CD, this one song by Mozart, over and over and over. And sometimes I would just look at the door, just hoping, just as at a deep spot, just hoping that somebody, anybody, would just knock on the door and say, "Hey, you want to talk?" That was one of my most heartfelt wishes. Of course, it never happened because I lived second floor in an apartment complex that was gated and had access codes, and plus I'm an introvert anyway, so in the past 15 years I can count on one hand the number of times people have stopped by random just to say hi. I'm an introvert. I like my times with my books. But here I was craving somebody. In various suicide trainings, whether it's the Army ACE or whether it's the assist or such, they always emphasize talk to somebody. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them straight out right, are you feeling suicidal? Ask them. Many people are afraid of doing that because they don't want to put the idea in their head. Guess what? It's already in their head. By ignoring the person, by not asking that question, you're not sidestepping the issue. You're letting somebody drown. So ask. And I would lay there in the room and I would listen to this over and over again. And so when the concert came and I'm sitting there, boom, there's the first note. And instantly I knew what it was. My heart leapt out. And it's one thing to listen to music on a CD, particularly classical music. It's one thing to listen to it on CD. It is quite another to feel it, to be in an auditorium and to feel the vibrations from the cello cross through space and time and permeate your cells of your body. That is quite a different thing. And I wept. My date was probably mortified. I cried so hard, even somebody a row and over turned around and looked at me, and I was just crying my eyes out. This was the first time in weeks, months, this is the first time that I saw something beautiful in life. That is when I changed my religion. Beauty became my religion. It became my truth. After that, I did not want to kill myself anymore. I wanted to be a devotee of beauty, to look for beauty anywhere I could. And that was late 90s. I still had a lot of growth to do. Just because I discovered beauty and truth doesn't mean that things weren't hard later on. And they didn't have any more dark nights. But they got less and less. But that is one of my 2 episodes. And the Houston Symphony saved my life. So hang in there. There's something somewhere out there. Just keep looking. There's something somewhere out there. If you're not suicidal and you think somebody is, talk to them. Ask them. Just reach out and say, hey, how's that Bears game? or whatever. Just make a connection somehow. You don't have to have the right words. There are no right words. Just by asking questions shows you care. And that'll help.